Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the Miami Heat off season. So, my apologies. Honestly, I was hoping the Miami Heat won, but let's get right into it. So, before we start today's video, as usual, guys, I want to hear right now in the comment section, who do you think, or what do you think the Miami Heat will do? Why do you think they'll do it? And how will it improve the team? Let me hear those three answers down below in the comment section right now. Like and subscribe for over 150 videos a month regarding every single NBA team. Now let's get right into today's video. And oh my God. Okay, this team is going to be $9 million as of right now, if they keep everyone that they can potentially keep on this roster over the salary cap, which means they'll be a luxury tax paying team. Now, look, Miami Heat have a great culture. This is a team, despite having, no all NBA players, essentially, even though I think Jimmy Butler's an all NBA player, in my opinion. And they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they finished first. And they had the fourth best defensive rating. Bam Adebayo and was a defensive player of the year candidate, and Jimmy Butler is a stud. And they had 4 young players on minimum deals. And this Heat squad is very good, and they're good enough to win a championship. Now, look, this team, PJ Tucker has a $7.4 million player option. We assume he accepts it unless he opts out because he thinks he get a slight raise and potentially more years added onto his deal. If he opts out, there should be plenty of teams interested in PJ Tucker's services, though the Heat can give Tucker a maximum starting salary of $8.4 million through his non-bird rights. Tucker's additional $1 million raise shouldn't impact their offseason plans. They currently are projected to have access to the $10.3 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which would hard cap them. It's possible they have to use the taxpayer mid-level exception at 6.4 instead in order to surpass the $156 million apron if a trade opportunity calls. Okay, so if that makes sense, they might be taxpayers, but they can also make themselves non-taxpayers at the same time if they make correct moves. And the backup center should be a priority with that mid-level exception, depending if it's a taxpayer or a mid-level exception of a non-taxpayer, which non-taxpayer again is 10.3 million and a taxpayer is 6.4. Now they have several free agents. Victor Oladipo was got a heavy minutes in the playoffs, and he had some key defensive assignments. Yeah, he had some bad moments, but look, he should be someone they consider re-signing, but he's also somebody who could get paid by a team thinking that he could recapture his Oklahoma City Thunder, Magic, and Indiana Pacers. While Caleb Martin is a hidden gem that they discovered, and he's headed towards free agent. Hopefully they can re-sign him, and they can tender him to a $2.1 million offer sheet, which would make him a restricted free agent, and I expect that they do. Now, the only extension eligible player they have this offseason will be Tyler Hero, who had, average 20.7 points per game, shot 56% true shooting, and won Sixth Man of the Year. Now, he basically was often targeted on defense as a mismatch. People were exposing Tyler Hero as being a horrendous defender. Now, somebody will feel the way to look at this is, look, Jordan Clarkson, who is the previous Sixth Man of the Year, got a 4-year, $50 million deal. That should be the deal Tyler Hero gets. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay. And obviously what could definitely affect, so if Jordan Poole gets paid more than Jordan Clarkson, which he probably will, that could also lead to Tyler Hero getting a bigger deal. But I think Tyler Hero should be paid bare minimum 4-year, $50 million. I wouldn't be entirely mad at a 4-year, $60 million deal, or a 4-year, I think 4-year, $80 million deals, or a big number for him. And the problem is you got to look at Tyler Hero. Can he improve enough to the point that he can hang defensively with the starters? It's possible that he can, and it's also possible Miami doesn't view him as a long-term core piece and make him available for trade. And if that opportunity arises in the offseason, it's easier to trade Hero without an extension, since his incoming salary in a trade for his new team wouldn't be complicated by the poison pill if there was one put in the deal. Now, if we look at the trade market, their acquisition of Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo, and Kyle Lowry have proved that the Miami Heat might not have any blue chip assets or flexibility to put on the table for a big trade, but yet time and again, they manage to get great players, even though they don't necessarily have the strongest trade packages. Now, obviously, the biggest asset they have is Tyler Hero. And we know Bradley Beal's probably going to resign, but Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert are up in the air, their future, and there are a few other players. But Tyler Hero, whose value is in the eye of the beholder, as well as they have 3 first-round picks they can trade. They can either trade the 2022 or 2023 first-round pick to a team. And I know, look, they also have a 2028 or 2029 pick. And they could conditionally trade their 2027 pick. Now, Duncan Robinson's another guy who's most likely to be a trade candidate due to the fact that Max Strus replaced him. He has 4 years, $75 million, which is kind of a big price tag to bite on. But Robinson and Hero can bring back $24.7 million in salary in a trade. So it's possible they might be able to get somebody, or they need to add another player to get a bigger fish. And I think that's, first off, also in the draft, if you guys want a little draft preview right here, I have the Miami Heat drafting MarJon Beauchamp, but I could see them drafting, there's, what is it? Leonard Floyd, is it? I'm blanking on his name. Floyd, NBA. I can't remember. Is it Michael Floyd? It's the guy from Canada, and I'm literally blanking on his name, and it's actually sad that I am. But either way, I think MarJon Beauchamp, Jake LaRavia, Kennedy Chandler are all guys that they should be looking at. And I honestly think if you look at this, there is some talent in this draft. And I think personally, when you look at it, you got to think about Leonard Miller, not Leonard Floyd. Leonard Miller is the guy from Fort Erie Prep. He's 6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan, 18 years old. He looked really inefficient and raw, but at the 27th pick, this guy could really become a Michael Porter Jr., Kevin Durant, poor man's version, and it's kind of good value. So if MarJon Beauchamp, Jake LaRavia, Kennedy Chandler, and Nikola Jovic or Patrick Baldwin or Ochai Agbaji, which are all guys who are most likely to be gone at that point, but if any of those guys are there, take them. But if all those guys are gone, take Leonard Miller. Sorry that I just confused. I don't know why I thought his last name was Floyd. So with that being said, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero seem the guys who could be traded. And I think Duncan Robinson will be traded. I don't know about Tyler Hero, but Duncan Robinson, in my opinion, I'll predict he definitely will be traded. They'll keep Tucker. Oladipo is unique because he could be included in a sign and trade. So the 3 guys I expect to be traded or possibly could be traded, I expect definitely Duncan Robinson to be traded. Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo could be included if they want to go after a big fish. And finally, PJ Tucker, I expect him to come back, but he could opt out for a pay raise. But PJ Tucker seems to very much like it here, and they very much like PJ Tucker. So there's no reason for them to get rid of PJ Tucker. Now, Miami Heat. When you look at this situation, I definitely think it's interesting because they have a handful of guys on this team that, look, Javonte Smart and Michael Mulder are two-way guys. They're not going to come back. I expect Omer year to 7, and maybe, Haywood Highsmith. Do you think he comes back on a 2-way? I expect Omer year 7 to be signed long term, like on an extension somehow. I know he's not extension eligible, but I very much like him. Marcus Garrett. I hope they bring back Marcus Garrett. I very much like Marcus Garrett. EJ Little from Ohio State's also there. Could be there, but I think he's going to get drafted around Minnesota, Chicago, San Antonio between 17 and 21. So if EJ Little or Blake Wesley are there, both 2 guys I expect to be gone by then, could be options. But Victor Oladipo, Markieff Morris, dude, he was such a waste. Do you think Udonis Haslem finally retires or becomes a coach? I hope they bring back Marcus Garrett. He was such a dog in in summer league, but Marcus Garrett, I guess they waived him and they signed Kyle Guy instead. Kyle Guy was also a beast, but hopefully Marcus Garrett's fine. And he got waived by the Heat. I know he got injured too, so either way, because he underwent season-ending surgery to fix his right wrist. So I expect them, obviously to do their diligence through the summer league, bring in some guys you never heard of. I expect them to trade Duncan Robinson. I expect them to draft a MarJon Beauchamp, Jake LaRavia. I really would like them to draft Leonard Miller. And I could see Tyler Hero leaving. I think PJ Tucker stays. I think Victor Oladipo either walks uncompensated, like in the Heat are uncompensated, he just walks, or Victor Oladipo ends up being used in a sign and trade. I don't expect Victor Oladipo to come back unless he has no market, but it seems like he's going to have a market. But guys, that was a long video. Goodbye.